Have you ever heard of a man who faced down cannons, charmed a princess, and literally wrote the book Unsettling America? Forget the Hollywood myths for a second. The real story of Captain John Smith is far more incredible, and it starts not in a golden paradise, but in a world of gunpowder, grit, and unbelievable guts. Born in 1580 in rural England, John Smith wasn't destined for greatness. He was a farmer's son with a restless spirit. While other boys learned to plow fields, Smith was devouring tales of knights and faraway lands. At just 16, he left home, hungry for adventure. His journey began not in America, but in the brutal wars of Europe. He fought for the French, then the Dutch, and eventually joined Austrian forces battling the Ottoman Empire in Hungary. This wasn't some training exercise. This was the real deal. He learned strategy, survival, and the cold, hard realities of combat. It was here that Smith's legend truly began. During a siege, the Ottomans, in a display of chivalry, challenged the Christian army to single combat. 3 times, Ottoman champions rode out, and 3 times, John Smith volunteered to face them. In a scene worthy of an epic poem, Smith defeated all 3 challengers in one-on-one duels, beheading them and claiming their heads as trophies. This act of incredible bravery earned him the title of captain and a coat of arms. But his luck would soon run out. Wounded in a later battle, he was captured and sold into slavery. Chained and beaten, Smith was sent far from the battlefield to what is now Russia and Ukraine. His owner was a cruel master, but his master's sister took a liking to the defiant Englishman. She sent him to her brother for training, hoping for better treatment. Instead, the abuse worsened. One day, while working alone in a field, Smith saw his chance. Pushed to his limit, he fought back against his tormentor, escaped on his horse, and began an arduous journey across Russia and Europe, finally making his way back to England. This man was a survivor. He had seen the best and worst of humanity, and it had forged him into a leader of tempered steel. Back in London, a new venture was capturing the imagination of the city: the Virginia Company. Their goal? To establish a permanent English colony in the New World, a land they dreamed was filled with gold and endless resources. For a man like John Smith, who had already lived a dozen lifetimes of adventure, this was an irresistible call. He invested his own money and signed on, not just as a settler, but as one of the leaders chosen to govern this ambitious new settlement called Jamestown. In December 1606, 3 small ships, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery set sail from England, carrying 104 men and boys, with Captain John Smith among them. The 4-month journey across the Atlantic was fraught with peril. Storms battered the ships, supplies dwindled, and tensions ran high. Smith, with his blunt, no-nonsense attitude and military background, clashed with the more aristocratic gentlemen on board. They saw him as arrogant and lowborn. At one point, they even accused him of mutiny and held him prisoner below deck for weeks. They arrived in Virginia in the spring of 1607, and upon opening their sealed orders from the Virginia Company, the other leaders were shocked to find that John Smith was named as a member of the governing council. Grudgingly, they had to release him. Their chosen location, Jamestown, was a disaster waiting to happen. It was a swampy, mosquito-infested peninsula with bad water. The gentlemen among the colonists refused to do manual labor, believing it was beneath them. They spent their days searching for non-existent gold while their food supplies rotted. Disease and starvation quickly set in. The nearby Powhatan Confederacy, a powerful group of Native American tribes led by the formidable Chief Powhatan, watched these strange newcomers with suspicion. Within months, half the colonists were dead. The Jamestown dream was turning into a nightmare. This is where John Smith's true leadership emerged. While others despaired, Smith took charge. He organized work details, enforced a simple but revolutionary rule: he that will not work shall not eat. He taught the gentlemen how to build shelters, plant crops, and fish. He understood that survival depended not on finding gold, but on securing food and building a sustainable community. He also knew they needed to trade with the Powhatan people. Smith led daring expeditions up the rivers, navigating unfamiliar territory to barter for corn and supplies. These missions were incredibly dangerous, but they were the colony's lifeline. It was during one of these expeditions in December 1607 that the most famous event of Smith's life occurred. While exploring the Chickahominy River, his party was ambushed by Powhatan warriors. His companions were killed, but Smith was taken captive. He was brought before the great chief Powhatan himself. According to Smith's own account, written years later, he was about to be executed. His head was laid upon 2 stones, and warriors stood ready with clubs. Suddenly, the chief's young daughter, Pocahontas, rushed forward, laid her own head upon his, and begged for his life. Her plea was granted. Now, historians debate the exact nature of this event. Was it a literal rescue, or was it a symbolic adoption ceremony, a ritual to bring Smith and, by extension, the English into the Powhatan world? We may never know for sure. But what is certain is that this encounter marked a turning point. Smith was released and returned to Jamestown, and for a time, Pocahontas and her people helped the struggling colony, bringing them food that saw them through the harsh winter. Smith's relationship with the Powhatan was complex, a mix of diplomacy, trade, and occasional conflict, but his willingness to engage directly with them was crucial for Jamestown's survival. In September 1608, Smith was elected president of the colony. It was a testament to his effectiveness. He ruled with an iron fist because he had to. He stopped the hoarding of food, drilled the men in military discipline, and repaired the fort's defenses. He explored and meticulously mapped over 3,000 miles of the Chesapeake Bay and its rivers. His detailed maps were so accurate they were used for over a century. He was a cartographer, an anthropologist, a diplomat, and a drill sergeant all rolled into one. He was exactly the leader Jamestown needed, but his strict rule made him enemies. The lazy resented being forced to work, and the company back in London was unhappy that he wasn't sending back gold and riches. In the fall of 1609, a mysterious accident sealed his fate in Virginia. A stray spark ignited the gunpowder bag he wore at his belt, causing a horrific injury. Badly burned and unable to lead, Smith was forced to return to England for treatment. He never set foot in Jamestown again. His departure was catastrophic for the colony. The winter that followed, known as the Starving Time, was horrific. Without Smith's leadership and his system for acquiring food, the colonists starved. They ate dogs, cats, rats, and even resorted to desperate, unspeakable acts to survive. By the time new supply ships arrived in the spring, only about 60 of the 500 colonists Smith had left behind were still alive. His presence had been the only thing holding the colony together. Though his days as a colonist were over, Smith's American adventure was not. In 1614, he sailed again, this time to the northern coasts of America. He mapped the coastline from Maine to Cape Cod, and it was he who named the region New England. He saw its future not in gold, but in the abundant fish and timber. He tried to return to lead a colony there, but was thwarted by storms and even captured by French pirates, from whom he later escaped, of course, by stealing a small boat in the dead of night. For the rest of his life, John Smith became a passionate advocate for American colonization. He wrote books and pamphlets, creating detailed guides for future settlers based on his hard-won experience. His writings, including the General History of Virginia, New England, and the Summer Isles, were a combination of adventure story, practical manual, and powerful propaganda. He was the one who truly sold the idea of America to the English people, not as a place to get rich quick, but as a land where a person could build a new life through hard work. Captain John Smith died in London in 1631. He was a complex and controversial figure. He was vain, boastful, and often embellished his own stories. But he was also undeniably brave, resourceful, and pragmatic. Without his leadership during those critical early years, the Jamestown colony would have certainly failed. And the history of the United States might look very different. He wasn't just a character in a Disney movie. He was a soldier, an explorer, a leader, and the original American survivor. He laid the foundation, not of gold, but of grit, upon which a nation would be built. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating characters. Let us know in the comments what you think about the real John Smith. See you next time.